Okay, Cameron Crowe and Jessica Mawhiney here. We are going to talk about Coal Valley. It's been a while, but a lot has come up recently, so a lot of us are kind of debriefing on some of our memories of Coal Valley. So, real quickly, I will say one thing that kind of kicked this whole thing off was I wrote a blog post about, I guess, 3 weeks ago now. And just felt like I kind of needed to say a few things and like some stuff for the record. My views had changed a lot about Coal Valley kind of over the 10 years or 11 years or so since I've been there. I left it, loving it to death. And now looking back, I think it was a really, really terrible environment, and it's raising kids. There's tons of problems about the way it's raising kids, and it's not safe for a lot of people. So I wrote that all up, and the reaction was huge. My phone was blowing up nonstop for a week. And eventually, after about like 20 or 30 people messaged me privately and said, "Oh my God, I need to tell you about my story," I realized we needed a support group. So we started a support group. Jessica joined the support group and shared in there. And there's now over 100 of us in there. I think 117 as of this evening. And eventually I realized this outgrew my personal blog, and now we have a website called coalvalleyspeaks.com. You can get to the support group from here if you'd like to join and share something. And then we're also planning to make a documentary. Things have been moving very fast. But if you want to be interviewed in the documentary, you can fill out this form. And this is where Jessica and my interview will be, down here with all the other ones. And with that, I will turn it over to Jessica. You saw this, and what kind of went through your head? Like, what did you think?
Well, it was really validating for me to see someone like you who, had a great experience come out and say like, hey, I don't think some of these things that we were taught were right, or ethic. And Apollo and we recently connected after 10 years, of not seeing each other since I left Coal Valley in eighth grade. And it's so interesting. Last year when we reconnected, we talked about trying to possibly interview past Coal Valley students and see what their experience is.
No kidding.
Seriously,
I didn't know that.
And other thoughts are on religion and school, especially. So when I saw that article posted, I was just kind of in awe, like, wow, like that's so awesome that you took the first step to bringing light to some serious issues here.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool that you guys, unknown to me, were thinking about something like this already. That's really cool. So you said, it was validating or affirming. So did you kind of share any of the kind of perspectives that I wrote about, and like what really kind of resonated with you, if anything?
A lot. The biggest thing for me though was probably leaving the faith and feeling like since then you've become a better person and a more accepting person, and realizing that that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but most of my family is still pretty devout Christian, and that was pretty hard for me to tell them, like, look, I think that I'm a good person. I want to love and accept everybody, but I can't accept this bias and hypocrisy and prejudice that you have against people for no reason other than, the Bible and your church tells you to.
Yeah. When did you have those conversations with your family?
Let's see.
Like how old were you?
That was recent too. That was probably 1.5, 2 years ago.
Okay.
And
you've been out of Coal Valley. You left Coal Valley in eighth grade, which was how long ago now?
Let's see. I'm
roughly
12 years. Yeah,
Okay.
12 years. Yeah.
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 What was that journey like? Or maybe give us some background. I think I read in your post you started in kindergarten.
Yes, I
And
went there from kindergarten to 8th grade.
give us your life story.
Okay. Well, at Coal Valley, I always really felt like an outsider, and I never really understood why. Maybe it was because I was different and I had different interests. Part of it was always getting called out for silly things like dyeing my hair inappropriate colors or hitting puberty before everybody else. So, millimeters of cleavage. Oh no, you're distracting the boys
Right.
from impure thoughts. Um,
When did that all start, by the way? When did you start feeling different or outcast? Like, was it elementary school?
yeah, 6th grade, because you remember in elementary school, 6th grade was kind of like an introduction to middle school, so it would kind of give you the feel of that environment before you went over to the secondary campus.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. Um,
Okay, so you were starting then, like, to feel different.
yeah. And I don't think that people necessarily didn't like me, but they didn't want to, be my friend. I do remember an incident in 6th grade where this kid sat next to me every single day in every class, and he convinced me to use an eraser to literally erase the skin on my hand because it would become serious fluid, is what he called it. So I literally like put eraser burns in my skin because this kid convinced me to do it. And I was gullible and naive, and I just wanted people to like me. And so I partially blame myself, but I look back and I'm like, that's not okay. That's not cool to do to another kid.
Well, and you didn't feel like did you feel like the teachers kind of were trying to include you or help out with this feeling of isolation, or were they part of the problem, or what was the situation?
I think that, well, I felt like they didn't really notice me. Like I was
Mhm.
just, for the most part, invisible unless I was getting in trouble. And then, so maybe they were a part of it, but mostly I felt that way with the students in my class.
Yeah, right. And then and then you eventually asked your parents to leave, right?
Right. So right after 7th grade, my best friend left and went to public school and was telling me how wonderful it was that she hadn't known these kids since, kindergarten. So people included her and she made new friends. And 8th grade was just really lonely, and I just wanted something different. I wanted a chance to start over. My parents fought back and they were like, no, we don't want you in a secular environment. And I always tried to argue back with, well, how can I spread the gospel if I'm not even around these other people,
Good angle.
Yeah, but you can deal with that when you're 18.
Oh, okay.
Eventually I won. They did let me go to transfer to public school, which I think was for the better. But I had to tell them I threatened to stop talking. That's what it took, because it was more important to have a religious education, or at least that's how I felt, than like a really good, solid education.
Right. Yeah, and not to mention, like uh an environment where you felt good,
Right.
with your mental health,
Yes.
because it sounds like maybe you were well, you're certainly isolated, but I mean, would you say you were depressed or
Probably. But I don't think that that was ever like necessarily a concern. It was always like, oh well, let me pray for you, or maybe you need to pray more or read your Bible more. Those are things that will get you right with God and therefore be happy, not that there could possibly be a chemical imbalance in your brain.
right? So did you feel like your parents were like looking, or like the fact that you wanted to leave, that was like did they treat you like you were sinning by wanting to leave, or like you were like less of a Christian, or anything? Like, was that part of it at all?
I just think that they didn't like that it wasn't a controlled environment, that there would
Mm.
be outside influences that could possibly get to me. Like our public schools here are really, you know, Mormon for one, and Mormons
Hmm.
are at Coal Valley. But more importantly, I think it was the secular influence that could possibly come over me.
Yeah. Where did you go to school after that? Eagle. Wait, sorry, I think broke up.
High School.
Okay. Um, and then, what was it? Did it feel really different?
A little bit. Yeah, it definitely got better. I still kind of felt really like awkward, but I think that that could have just been me. And it was a much bigger school. I did make friends and I did find a place where I felt like I belonged more. Like I've always loved singing, and I actually felt like I belonged in the choir in public school, whereas at Coal Valley, I didn't feel like the choir teacher liked me and didn't ever give me an opportunity to like do better and audition for
Oh,
solos. So
interesting.
that was important to me.
Yeah. And then, what was the kind of course of events where that caused you to, stop or lose your faith? Or I don't know how to say it. Like stop believing, lose your faith, give it, I don't know.
Um,
I need to get better at this whole atheism thing.
right, right. Still a process. um, that was when I was in the Navy. So I joined the Navy right outside of
Oh,
high school, thinking I was serving my country, doing good, all those things they tell you, reasons you assume people join the military. But then you join the military and you realize that it's every man for himself. I mean, and that's not always the case, right? So then I had some things happen in the military and bullying as well. And when I got to my first duty station, I guess that the depression that had gone untreated for so long finally hit me. And I did try to commit suicide when I was in the Navy.
wow.
And so I was medically discharged. And then when I came home, I just felt like my faith was broken and I couldn't understand why, if I'm following God's plan, if I'm praying, then why am I experiencing these things and why do I feel this way? And so I went to different churches. My dad had me go to a college age Bible study, and I decided to be brave and share my experience. And then, yeah, all I heard was, well, again, don't you want to know what God's plan is for you? And I was like, no, I don't think so. I've been trying to follow God's plan up until this point, and I just
Hasn't
felt,
been working for me.
yeah, exactly. Something needs to change. So it was kind of a slow process. I delved into different religions and New Age spirituality and all kinds of things. And in doing that, I really developed a passion for studying comparative religion. And
Hmm.
and I think that that's what really helped me finally say one day, I don't really consider myself a Christian anymore, but I do try to live my life by the golden rule.
Yeah, right. Um, wow. So then you had this talk with your parents, and how did they take it?
My parents were surprisingly more accepting than I thought.
Okay,
Um,
good.
my grandparents, on the other hand, my grandfather's a Southern Baptist pastor, and I've gone on mission
Wow.
trips with him. Um, they didn't quite take it as well. And last year, they invited me out to dinner just really out of the blue, and I thought it was kind of odd. So I get there, and it was definitely like an intervention. Feel like, you sure you want to study different religions, but what about the one true living God? And
How did you react to that, or what
I
did you
kind of
say? Or
nodded and was like, good to see you guys. And then I left and told my husband that I'm not going out to dinner with them ever again if he's not invited. And that was kind of a red flag there because he's
yeah,
a devout atheist. Um, but I talked to my dad and was like, how do I deal with this? And he was like, there's not really much you can do. I don't want to like cause a rift in the family. My brother, who went to Cole Valley from kindergarten through graduation, he's 2 years younger than me, recently just came out to me a couple months ago, and said that he is agnostic as well. And so we have kind of just decided to play it cool as best as we can in front of the family for the sake of our younger siblings, but we're not going to put up with that
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. So in this whole process, what really led to, reflecting back on Cole Valley and like being like, we should do something about this? Because you had come to that kind of
Yeah.
conclusion before I had posted anything.
Well, so I came out as an atheist on Facebook I'm pretty sure it was last year. So then Apollo
I love
came.
the word choice because I use it too. And sometimes I feel over dramatic using it, but it really feels like that. I feel like I'm going to get disowned. I feel like relationships are going to sever. It's like
Your whole life kind of gets flipped over a little bit. People just don't look at you the same way.
yeah.
But then Apollo reached out to me and was like, hey, we're totally on the same page. Like,
Because he saw the update on Facebook.
mm-hmm.
Okay.
He was like, I wasn't really sure how, if I wanted to be, connect with you again, but I feel much more comforted knowing that you're not, prejudiced against me simply because your beliefs tell you to.
That's interesting because it was like, I understand where he's coming from. In fact, it's like I didn't feel safe being me around you, perhaps because thinking that you might still be in the Cole Valley worldview, like you would judge me. I couldn't like be myself without fear of, I don't know, harassment or judgment. But like knowing that you've broken away, like I know you're not gonna like look at me wrongly because of
less than.
Yeah, right.
Or inadequate.
Uh-huh. Huh. So then what did this feel like when like all of a sudden just like dozens and dozens and dozens of people are just like do you have basically having the same like thing, like you and Apollo had this great moment and then boom, everybody's doing it.
It was a little overwhelming at first, and it brought up a lot of memories that I might have like repressed since then. So the last couple of weeks have been kind of crazy, at least in my brain. I mean, I know it's been crazy for you. All these people are reaching out to you, but it's definitely validating to know that other people have shared similar experiences, and also to know that I didn't have the worst experience. I can't believe that we thought that we had the worst experience, being the awkward nerds in our grade, but people had it way worse than us. And the fact that they covered it up and made people feel like they were in the wrong is just so disheartening and disgusting to me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I have a lot of beef. I thought I had, a lot of beef.
Right.
And then I realized, oh, I don't know the half of it. I didn't know the half of it. Now I do.
Right.
And then like hearing all these stories, how like sickening it seemed because it was like the theme was like a subterfuge, like, oh, a bad thing's happening. Let's go into like silencing protocol. Let's bring them in here behind closed doors.
Yep.
Let's like, shut all the windows and be like, you know what, why this happened? It's because you did something wrong.
Right.
Or
nobody's gonna believe you.
Or no one's gonna believe you. It's gonna be a he said, she said. Do you really want to ruin his life? This guy that raped you. It's like, and then like, basically, I mean, I don't know if they flat out told them like, don't go to the law, but like, that sure as hell came through loud and clear in the subtext from like the way these stories are told anyway.
And if that's not, coercive, cultish behavior, I mean, I don't know what is. And I have read about a lot of different cults and controlling beliefs, probably like hundreds of them. And you know what? Over 50% of them stem from Judeo-Christian beliefs. So what does that tell you?
Sure, I didn't know that. I'm interested in like what you know about cults, because I don't know that much about cults. Obviously, they come up in pop culture periodically, and this is a cult, that's a cult. My original draft for my blog post title was "I grew up in a cult," and I was using that word choice.
Yep.
But knowing that this was going to be an explosive post, like I didn't want to exaggerate in any way. Like it felt like that word felt right to me, but I didn't want to like anybody to like basically be able to dismiss anything due to exaggeration. So like I actually like backpedaled it a little bit and didn't use that word. But like, what are your thoughts on like Coal Valley cult or not?
Well, I mean, for me, all I had was at home, school, and church. So no outside influence whatsoever. And that's a pretty culty environment. And I know I'm not the only kid who went to Coal Valley who had school and youth group. And maybe not any other friends or family members who weren't of some sort of Christian denomination.
Yeah.
So that's all you know, and that's all you're being told, and you're being told that everybody else is wrong. That definitely sounds a little cult-like to me.
It's like separating yourself from the world. Like, don't listen to them. They're the crazy ones. We have this full story. Like, you don't need to listen to anybody else. That's how it felt to me.
That's how it felt. Like, what? And they would question it like, well, why would you want to? Because we all know that what we're saying is right. So there's no need to even research, no need to even question. I went to.
Why are you lacking faith? Why do you feel the need to not accept what we're telling, like this aspect of what we're telling you?
Exactly. I remember being told in Sunday school that I wasn't allowed to ask any more questions that the youth pastor couldn't answer. Well, if I was God, I would want people to ask questions. I want people to know.
He gave me a brain.
Yeah, exactly. Let me use
Do you think he would want me, or now I like to say she because that's throws people for a loop. But do you think she would, really want me to just like be an unthinking, robotic follower and like not really think about it? No way.
No way. And now it's science. I mean, isn't a lot. I know a lot of scientists kind of think, well, science is kind of in a way that gives you the feeling that religion, except the cool thing about science is that it's real whether or not you believe in it. But it can give you that same like euphoric sense of feeling in your place in the universe, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, because when I've talked to people like religious or friends that I have that are religious, or from Coal Valley that are still religious, I feel like people like to say that, oh, well, the way you think about science, you're thinking about it like a religion. You think that you're not a religious person, but like you believe in science. That's an idol or whatever.
Right.
But to me, it does, like, there's a science. Science is the epitome of questioning and testing and changing. Like,
Yes.
somebody finds something out and they change the whole thing to fit like this new evidence.
Yes.
Religion isn't doing that.
Yes. Any idea or thought that cannot evolve with new evidence presented before it cannot be perceived as truth. And that is the belief that they were telling us was, this is it and this is right, even if science says, yes, it's normal for people to be homosexual or it's normal for people to be transgender. Well, that's
natural.
Exactly. But if you can accept that and what you're saying can't be perceived as truth.
Yeah, that really bugged me. Even then, like, obviously I wasn't like about to like lead a rebellion against them
Right.
then. But like I remember thinking back, I'm like, why are you getting upset that I'm asking these questions? Like, why do you feel defensive? Like,
Yes.
um, what am I doing wrong? Like, there's like, why do you have to react like this? And I bounced around churches even like within Coal Valley, like in high school, like I
Yeah.
started bouncing around, and it was everywhere I went. Every youth pastor, I would end up having coffee with them inevitably, or some sort of a one-on-one,
Hmm.
and I would like broach some sort of thing like, I just don't get this. This doesn't make sense to me. And it wasn't, excuse me, it wasn't like a, you know, Jesus wasn't God, like that kind of thing. It would be like a doctrinal thing, or and they'd be like, like without exception, it was always like, I hear you, but you need to have more faith. And I was like, that's really disappointing.
It's not the answer that you want to hear.
No, and like I'm trying to have faith, like I'm doing
Yes.
everything I can to make this click in my mind, but I can't. So like it's not my fault.
Yeah. And the worst thing is when you leave and everyone says, "Well, they didn't have enough faith. They must not have been a good enough Christian. They weren't
Oh, they
ready."
never believed it. If they don't believe now, they never did, probably.
Exactly. And that's not the truth.
No.
And
No, and like how I mean, that's kind of like an unfair argument anyways, because basically
uh,
like if you don't believe now, then I can dismiss anything you ever like I therefore can say you never actually tried, or your heart wasn't in the right place, or you were never really whatever. And like that seems cheap.
cheap and if I dismiss you as a bad Christian, then I don't have to listen to anything you say, even if you have scientific evidence,
Yeah.
or reason, good reason as to why you would have left the church or faith, what have it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all this reflection about Coal Valley, and for a lot of people, it's not just reflection on Coal Valley. It's like this bubble, right? Like Coal Valley was maybe the biggest piece of it in terms of days and hours, but like it's also, seamlessly with the church and the like family unit, and like that all impacts everything. But um, what do you look back and you're like, these are my biggest issues? Like, maybe there's a lot of issues, but like, do you have like a few that stand out to you? Like, these are the things that really bother me.
Yes. Um, Especially treating young girls like it's their fault if they cause young men to have bad thoughts or to hurt them. You're still vulnerable at that age, and to make you believe that you're inadequate because you hit puberty and you have boobs before everybody else. I mean, really, like, I don't know. I know I'm not the only one
No,
who.
not at all. This is like the most common story I've heard in the group.
So I just don't think that they should put so much emphasis on the I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, no, like some people have called it rape culture,
Yeah.
because it's
Uh,
like it's your responsibility to keep these men in line, what degree of sexual control they have. Like if you show a certain amount of skin, you're asking for them to basically assault you, is
right.
the subtext of this whole thing.
Shouldn't we teach that God loves everyone and therefore you should respect other people because God loves them? I mean, I feel like Coal Valley could do better teaching the love part of Christianity, and that was really the biggest issue for me, is that you say that God is love and God cares, but then your Christians are judgmental and biased, and I don't really think that that's great.
Totally. Yeah, and to me, it's just it seems like such sexism. It's like you are your job in life, one of your jobs is basically to manage the effect that you have on men. Um, that's a lot of pressure to put on somebody, and also it's just like totally like like it's like the men are what basically determine how you need to act. Um,
Right.
it,
You have a place under men. It's God
exactly, yeah.
and men and then women. And, you know, my family perceives my husband's and my role in our marriage as undoctrinal because for the longest time he was the stay-at-home dad and I was the one working, and they literally just couldn't get past that for me.
Why?
And I'm like, you know what? This man saved my life. If he didn't come into my life when he did, when I got home from the Navy, I would be dead right now. So it doesn't matter who's working and who's not just because God says one gender has one role and one the other. We're a family and we work hard together to build a better life. And why does it even matter? I mean,
Totally.
what? Yeah. So,
Yeah, that it's hard. It's hard for me to really imagine being a girl in Coal Valley. Like what I saw, even my own memories.
yeah,
Looking back, I'm like, this is really messed up. You are training girls to think of themselves as inferior and an object.
a
And
doormat,
what?
a doormat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like that's like the last thing I would want a daughter of mine to like go through, or my sister. My sister went there K through 12 too, and she went through it.
And then there's the sex education. And I remember the 8th grade sex class. I think a lot of people have brought it up in the support group. They separated boys and girls. And they told us, if you kiss a guy, then you're taking away from your husband. Not that it's, important to you if you have sex with someone before marriage. And
Irrelevant. It's
so,
about your husband.
like, teaching young girls again that they're inferior and that their self-worth depends on their virginity.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's come through loud and clear as a pattern.
Yeah.
Um,
What if kids don't wait until marriage? Then shouldn't they be taught, here's what you should do if you do sin, quote, to protect yourself? Here's how to use condoms. This is what birth control is. Like, understand uh, STDs and pregnancy. I mean, really, we weren't very well equipped for that part of our lives as adults.
yeah, this is another theme. It's like, I have this really perverse, like weird kind of like mental image of like what sex was and all the pressure that like was behind sex, and like
Right.
I never felt like people are still processing this like years later, and and also it's just like so unrealistic, right? Like they didn't teach it. There was no backup plan. Like if this doesn't sink in and you 100% buy into abstinence, because not everybody is going to,
Right.
um, you have no clue what you're doing. And like, that's really dangerous for not only for you, but like other people too.
Yeah. How do you know to protect yourself from getting pregnant as a teenager, or
Yeah.
STDs, or just what if you have sex one time and then you feel like, oh my God, I'm never going to get a husband. He's never going to love me because I didn't wait until I was married. I'm never going to be seen as perfect.
Seriously screw up your self-image.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
A lot of damage to someone's psyche. Sorry.
yeah. And it's such a core thing to who people are, like sex and how they think about sex and their self-worth. And like, you know, it's already fraught enough without all this crazy baggage.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Anything else kind of bubble up in terms of like things that stand out to you about Cole or this whole, kind of Christian culture we were in?
Yeah, I just think that we should really they should spread the message of Jesus, which in my opinion was love. And if you really want it to be an all-inclusive, non-denominational school, then that's the message that you should preach, and I'm not that, oh, well, everyone else who has a different belief is bad and they're going to hell. Well, Jesus would have gone up to them and had a conversation about philosophy. He would have shown them his light and hoped that they would see that and then follow him, not to go and tell those people, you're wrong, you're going to go to hell for your beliefs if you don't conform to ours. Like, there's a
Yeah.
different approach. I think that if there was that kind of approach, I might still be a Christian. I used to tell my religious friends when I was kind of questioning my faith that I thought Jesus was a cool hippie dude who just wanted to spread the message of love. And I mean, I still kind of, that's right, still kind of see him as like that, as a, mythical person, but still.
Absolutely. It's like, the in Coal Valley, like they love to kind of throw shade on the Pharisees.
Yeah.
But looking back, it was like you were more focused on like behaviors like the Pharisees than Jesus. Like
Yeah.
Jesus didn't have any issue with gay people, prostitutes, anything. In fact, the only people he got really pissed off at were the Pharisees.
Yep. The hypocrites in the church.
Yep. Exactly. For everybody that doesn't know what a Pharisee is, it was like a religious leader, basically like a clergy person that basically like held the law of like, fit into the box. This is how you have to live. This is, you have to measure up to this way of being a good,
In God's
you,
eyes.
I guess, at the time. Yeah. Yeah. So I've got two last questions for you, but you wanted to ask me something, and like, are there any other topics you kind of wanted to touch on?
Oh, yeah. I just really want to know what was going through your head and what made you want to come public with your story, because you knew that it was going to blow up eventually. But what made you decide to do that, to press that button?
Yeah, it was kind of like a change. I've been on my own journey, and it's like, um, so I left Coal Valley,
Mhm.
totally strong, did everything right, like to an extreme. I was like very good, very good. Like I never looked at porn until I was 20 years old.
Did you know what porn was before then?
Yes, my friends were into porn in high school, and I was like, you guys are terrible people. Like,
Right.
I would never do that. I know that's a sin. So like I was like so dialed in on self-discipline that like I never once like looked. Just crazy. But like that kind of stuff. Like
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
I was like deep in it, and I went to college, and I was like full on. What they taught me was like, and what they taught everybody is beware. They're gonna try to fool you. They're gonna try to like change your mind. Like we talked about that cult thing. Like you're going outside the bubble, but don't listen to them.
Yep.
Um, that's how it was, and that's how I was. So I was kind of like, I don't know about all you people. Like I kind of stayed in the Coal Valley clique, actually. Like I went to Boise State in the honors college, and like a huge group of my class went there and was living in this small like honors dorm. It was like 50 people in the building, and
Wow.
8 of them were from Coal Valley, and we all knew each other. So we kind of like still like kept together. Like, okay, like we're not gonna let them get us.
Right.
And but despite that, like I was around people, smart, really smart people that didn't believe, or even that like they did believe, but they were like seeking and they were questioning at the time. Like one of my best friends now was leaving Catholicism, and he was just like way further along than I was, and like thinking about all that. And he was like really pushed, like testing me, because I didn't have good answers for like a lot of the stuff that I thought was bulletproof.
Right.
And I remember being like, I don't like him. Later on, I mean, no, really, he's like one of my best friends now. He played the first dance at my wedding last summer on guitar. It was really cool. But so like I got those kind of inputs for the first time. People that I like generally respected and like ran into, like stuff would come up and they'd be like, yeah, what about this though? And I'd be like, I don't know, but you're trying to trick me.
Right.
So fast forward, I studied abroad my sophomore year of college. I went to Norway, and Norway in particular, but like I think most of Europe, at least like Northern Europe,
Mm-hmm.
is like non-religious.
Yeah.
Like nobody believes in God. So I was a minority. So it was like me and another friend that actually went with me. We were like these weird Christian kids, and we were like zoo animals to them. They were like, wait, so you really believe that? Really? Tell us more. And I was like, well, here's this and that and whatever. So they were like, this is crazy. I didn't know there were like, I thought everybody that believed that was an idiot. And I was like, well, I don't think I'm an idiot. I mean, I believe that. But anyway, so that really fast forwarded my thinking, exposed me to stuff. And then like I kind of like started questioning, and like, I'm not sure I'm going to take all this for granted anymore. I'm going to start like testing some things and seeing if, the Holy Spirit convicts me of like wrongdoing.
Right.
The Bible says that he will. And I'm actually like legitimately still trying to be a Christian. And I feel like my heart's in the right place. I just can't take it on face value anymore. I need to test it and like see, experiment.
Yeah.
So experimenting happens. My own experimenting, friends of mine are experimenting, and like we don't get struck by lightning. We don't feel bad by doing things that normal people do that are like,
Taboo.
yeah.
Yeah.
For instance, having sex outside of wedlock, it was like, that was great, and nothing terrible happened, and I don't feel bad. It felt like a great, like a
Normal
healthy
thing.
thing, and like, yeah. So anyway, like that goes on. I take a college class, and like I remember having this like really breakthrough moment when I was reading Freud. Actually, I was reading Civilization and Its Discontents, which is kind of like a classic Freud book. And I had been taught that like Freud is the devil, basically,
Right.
in classes. Like, don't ever listen to him. He's crazy. It's ridiculous that anybody listened to him ever. Finally, I was at a point where I was like, I'm not listening to those voices anymore. Like, I'm gonna like read this thing and see what I think, regardless of all that.
Yeah.
I have this profound like, oh my God, this guy's a genius. And then I read some other people, and like, it made way more sense to me than all the other stuff did. And eventually I kind of had to come to grips with like, I don't think I believe in God anymore. And like, I also kind of explored other religions a little bit. I basically hung out at a Unitarian Universalist church, couple of them, for like 3 or 4 years. And then, so 10-year reunion, or we're approaching, at this point, we had been approaching our 10-year anniversary of like graduating, and some classmates put together a Facebook group, and it ended up we didn't end up like have a reunion, but kind of as like a way to catch up still. Somebody was like, everybody should basically say like where you live and what's been up over the last 10 years and like how you're doing, and we can all kind of see where everybody's at. And it was a cool idea. And like, people kind of shared. It was like not as detailed as our like what's in the support group now, but it's been like 8 sentences about my life over the 10 years. And when I decided to do it, I was like, I'm going to put some real talk in here. Like, I'm going to say, like, I don't believe anymore. And I actually think a lot of stuff was pretty messed up. I put that out there. I got a lot of support from some people. Some people pushed back. And then one of my good friends, best friend in elementary school, who was gay all through Coal Valley, K through 12, and finally came out, like he posted and did some real talk, and he basically got attacked by some people, and basically like, why are you like, you're just trying to make us feel bad for like what you experienced, and like basically like playing the victim card, like because he just like opened up about like what this was actually like, and how it made him feel. Like a couple guys were like, you have no right to like come at us. And I'm like, hell no, not now, not him, no. So I like jumped down their throats and was like, no way. And like, cool it, man. You are not the victim here. You need to be able to listen, and he can say whatever he wants. So that got a few of us riled up then, but like that kind of like we started talking about it more and more and more, and it kind of over the last months I've kind of been realizing that I should be more vocal about things that I feel strongly about, because like there are people out there that might feel like I do that don't have confidence or the strength, and like seeing somebody else say it can really, I've had this and other things, can really empower them and bring a lot of light and confidence to their lives. And like I was like, if one person feels this way about anything that I write, you know, like then it's worth it. So yeah, eventually I was just like, you know, I woke up in the middle of the night one night and I was like, I've got to write about that. It kind of hit me, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I was like, I'm going to say the real thing. I'm going to get it all out there, and I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be a bombshell on Coal Valley and people are going to freak out, but like that's all I thought would happen. Like I thought we'd move on, and then it just like built and built and built, and people, so many people, and so much response, and so much like, yes, me too. I was like, whoa, well, doors are opening, and there's more people's attention on these topics than I think there maybe has ever been in like the history of Coal Valley. So like we can't just like not capitalize on this. Like we have people's attention, we can't waste it. So I was like, we're gonna keep walking through these doors. If they're gonna open, we need to walk through them. And yeah, and then now we're here.
Wow. Oh, that's so encouraging to hear. And
Thanks.
that what you've done is really awesome. And like you said, opened the doors for a lot of people. I've seen a few people post that, you know, this has been some healing that they never knew they needed. And I would attest to that as well.
Great.
These memories that I thought I had gone repressed came back up in the last few weeks, but maybe that needed to happen. Maybe we needed to open up and talk about this so that people could forget about the past and heal from it and help move forward.
Totally. Yeah, I am so glad that's happened. I had no clue it would, but that's the thing I'm the most proud of, is the support group. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff is coming, is in the works. So yeah, anything else before I kind of got my last two questions?
I don't think so.
Cool. All right, last two questions are, if there's anything you could say to Coal Valley administration, what would it be? Or do you have a message for them? And then is there something you would say to prospective parents that are thinking about putting their kids in Coal Valley?
Okay. I would tell the administration, or ask them rather, to really look at the behaviors of Jesus Christ and then reflect on themselves and ask if that's how they were acting towards the parents and the students of that school. And if they really believe that Jesus would approve of how they were treating people. And maybe if not, then they should do something about that, because if God is love, then you have to embody that love and you have to show the world the love that God has to give. And as far as respective parents, I don't think I would recommend Coal Valley to anybody. If you want a specialized school, good education, find a charter school. And I've heard good things about Bishop Kelly. I don't know because I haven't been there, but I'm sure there's got to be other options out there for parents looking to get their kids a really good education without all of the abuse and indoctrination.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you, Jessica. I really enjoyed this conversation. Keep up the good work and supporting everybody in the group, and yeah, we'll be in touch, I'm sure.
All right. Awesome.
Thanks again. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.